Welcome to this tutorial on subtraction. The problem given is 35 minus 27. That means we need to subtract 27 from 35. Let us first write 35 and 27 in the correct tens and units columns. 35 has 3 tens and 5 units, and 27 has 2 tens and 7 units. Let's say that one bundle of 10 sticks is 1 ten and 1 stick is 1 unit. So, 35 has 3 tens, that is 3 bundles, and 5 units, that is 5 sticks. First, we need to subtract the units. That is, we need to subtract 7 units from 5 units. Can we do that? No, we can't do that, and that is why we need to borrow units from the tens column. So, let us borrow 110 from the tens column and show it in the units column as 10 units. Why? Because 110 is the same as 10 units. And so, we have 1 less bundle in the tens column and 10 more sticks in the units column. So, how many units do we now have? We had 5 units. We added 10 more, and so we now have 15 units in the units column. From this, we need to subtract 7 units. Can we subtract 7 units from 15 units? Yes, of course we can. So, how many units are remaining? There are 8 remaining units. Now, let us subtract the tens. Since we need to subtract 2 tens from 2 tens, we have no tens remaining. And that means that 35 minus 27 is 8. Now that we have understood this, let us see how to solve the actual problem. We saw earlier that because we can't subtract 7 units from 5 units, we need to borrow 110. From the 3 tens that we have, let us take 110 and convert it into 10 units. And so, we are left with 2 in the tens column. That is, we are left with 2 tens. And how many units do we have? We have 15 units from which we need to subtract 7 units. And so, we are left with 8 units. When we subtract 2 tens from 2 tens, we are left with 0 tens. And so, 35 minus 27 is 8. Let us look at one more subtraction problem. What is 403 minus 36? To begin with, let us write 403 and 36 in the correct hundreds, tens and units columns. 403 has 4 hundreds, 0 tens and 3 units, and 36 has 3 tens and 6 units. Now let us represent 403 using sticks, bundles and boxes. So, 403 has 4 hundreds, meaning 4 boxes, 0 tens, meaning no bundles, and 3 units, meaning 3 sticks. 36 has 3 tens and 6 units. Beginning with the units, we need to subtract 6 units from 3 units. Obviously, we can't do that. So what should we do? Like we did in the earlier problem, we should borrow units from the tens column. But look, there are no tens either. So now, what do we need to do? We need to go further and borrow from the hundreds column. If we borrow 100, that is 100 is actually equal to 10 tenths. So let us remove one box from the hundreds column and convert it into 10 bundles and put them in the tens column. This represents 10 tenths. We are now left with just 3 hundredths, but we have 10 tenths. Since we now have 10 tenths, let us borrow 1 tenth so that we can subtract the units. For this, we remove one bundle, that is 1 tenth, and convert it into 10 sticks and put them in the units column. This is because 1 tenth is 10 units. How many units do we now have? We had 3 units, to which we added 10 more, and so we have 13 units, from which we need to subtract 6 units. How many units are we left with? That's right, 7 units. Now let us subtract the tenths. We saw earlier that we had 9 tenths left in the tenths column. Can we subtract 3 tenths from 9 tenths? Yes, we can. And we will be left with 6 tenths. Finally, subtract the hundreds. We have 3 hundredths from which we don't have to subtract any. So how many hundredths do we have left? We have 3 hundredths left. And so, what is the final answer? We have 3 hundredths, 6 tenths and 7 units. So, this shows us that 403 minus 36 is 367. Hope you understood that. Now, let us see how to solve the actual problem. 403 minus 36. Let us begin by subtracting the units. We saw earlier that we cannot subtract 6 units from 3 units, and so we need to borrow from the tens column. But since there is a 0 in the tens column, we need to go further and borrow from the hundreds column. We have 4 hundredths from which we need to borrow 100 and convert it into 10 tenths. So you can see that we now have 3 hundredths left, but we have 10 tenths. We now have enough tenths to borrow from. So let us borrow 1 tenth from the tenths column and convert it into 10 units. So we now have 9 tenths left and we got 10 more units, so we have 13 units. We can easily subtract 6 units from 13 units. So how many units do we have left? We have 7 units left. Now let us subtract the tenths. You can see that we need to subtract 3 tenths from 9 tenths. And the answer to that is 6 tenths. Now let's subtract the hundreds. We have no hundreds to subtract from 3 hundredths, so of course we have 3 hundredths left. So we see, what is 403 from 36? It is 367.